Hi everybody, it's me, Sherry. I hope everybody's doing really well. Sorry, my phone is shaking. I wanted to give you a quick update on my burnout. So, I am so glad I've started to use Gemini as Gemini's been so invaluable for me as an accommodation. It has helped me in so many ways. I can't wait to tell you guys about it. And I think that I'm finding out why. Well, there's a couple of reasons. It's like a perfect storm why I was not able to heal from my burnout, and I would stay in that state for sometimes months stuck in bed. Um, I started looking at nutrition and learning about doing a lot of research, and Gemini is amazing because if you don't have a lot of spoons of energy, and if you're not from the neurodivergent community, that won't make sense to you. Basically, our level of energy is way lower sometimes. Basically, if we're a car, if you think of yourself as a car going through your day, getting up to go do your errands and life's stuff, and work, you have a certain amount, you have like a gas tank, you have a certain amount of energy. And yes, we all are tired, and yes, we're all doing more than one person can do usually. But as a woman, and I know this won't be interesting to the gentleman, but this is going to be part, not all, but part of the things that I'm going to be covering as I get better and start doing videos again. It's been kind of scary. I did not know that menopause makes your ADHD so much worse. My appetite's been kind of shot. I forget to eat. And I had no idea that I was sometimes I'd forget dinner and lunch. Maybe I'd have a snack at the end of the day, but it wasn't unusual for me to have 600 calories for my whole day. What? Yeah, I had no idea. No idea at all. So I was thinking about the way I used to eat when I was healthier, when I was younger. Now, granted, when I was younger, my metabolism wasn't the same, and I wasn't taking Adderall. I wasn't taking medicine for my ADHD. At first, I thought that that was going to be cool to have some Adderall. Not only was it going to help me function and think straight in life and have the energy to get up and go and help me with when I have burnouts to have a little bit more energy. I was kind of excited that I was going to lose some of my appetite because I was constantly hungry and I was eating all the time. When I lived at home with my family when I was younger, my mom did the grocery shopping and she kept the pantry stocked with all kinds of things. So, yes, there was some junk food, but there was also healthy snacks in there as well as nuts and whatnot. And I was just kind of like in my mind trying to think back to how I used to eat. Besides forgetting to eat, I would, now recently I was just having, if you've seen videos from last year, I'm like, oh, this is a hack. If you forget to eat, make sure you put protein powder in your oatmeal. And my breakfast was oatmeal with maybe like some sweetener. If I was trying to cut my sugar, maybe I'd put in a Splenda. I put in some cinnamon and ginger, and then I was putting that in my coffee as well with a little creamer, but that was my breakfast. And then I was forgetting to have my morning snack, and I was forgetting to eat lunch, and then maybe I'd have a good dinner because my fiance likes to cook. And when I first met him, it was different. We ate healthier. And I don't know if life changes as you get older or things get more busy and you just, I didn't do the grocery shopping when I was younger. My mom did. And because he's the one who loves to cook, I was like, that's fantastic. So he's been doing the grocery shopping. So because previous to that, my average day when I was younger, I just was kind of going through this morning. We are on, I think, January 31st, 2026, and it's still the morning here. Actually, I can't go by that clock because that clock stopped. Yesterday it stopped. Let's see what time it is. 10:45. Not that that matters whenever you see this. But can you tell that I look better and I feel a little bit better oh my God, just from me doing some changes to my diet last week, I had no idea I was not getting. I've had to reverse the way I ate. I knew I wanted to have more produce, and I knew that I wanted to have less of the processed stuff. Um, Sorry if I'm all over the place. But I am kind of wonky uh, from changing my diet. And I'm using Gemini to help me, but it's important to know if you use Gemini to help you learn about different diets the way I did, I kind of have a little bit of a safety net because of some of my education that I've had in school and some of my interest in nutrition over the years. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. So I know I say it a lot, but it's important. Make sure to check with your doctor. If somebody has high blood pressure, maybe you're not going to have as much salt in your diet as I do. And you have to watch your electrolyte balance so you don't get lightheaded. If you have coronary artery disease, you're not going to have high fat foods. Like, I've learned that being in menopause and having an ADHD brain, I couldn't figure out why my symptoms have been bad. It's been basically forgive me for being all over the place because coming out of burnout, and I haven't had the energy to even film myself. A lot of times, the first at least 2 days after I work one day a week, I am in bed. The first day after I work, I'm in bed and I'm probably sleeping all day. And I have all this guilt that I should push myself, but I've been learning that I can't do that. If I go all drill sergeant on myself and start doing laps in the house, I might push myself back into bed for another couple days. So that's what burnout is. If you're neurotypical and you don't know what neurodivergent burnout is, you have basically been running on fumes for so long. It's kind of similar to work burnout from your job, but it can happen a lot sooner and it's more intense and it does like physical damage to your body. And so one of the things that I've been really interested in, I want to start learning more about is that, so I was asking Gemini, what's happening to my body? Why is this burnout so intense? Like, I don't understand. I know that I multitask at work and that's frustrating and I have to hold my frustration in. I know that I'm masking and I have no idea that I'm actually experiencing probably a lot more anxiety than other people, but I've learned to kind of like suck it in and not pay attention, like try to tune myself out to it, because for me, that's my normal. So I think everybody else feels that way, and it turns out, no, that's not true. The sensory sensitivities did not used to be this bad. It turns out that when you're in burnout, of course, your symptoms get worse and you can have what they call autistic. If you have autism as well as ADHD, you can have autistic regression. You probably can have something similar, skill regression, if you have ADHD. So if you're a woman and you have been running a household and you are very, I don't like the word high functioning because, and if you're new to neurodivergence and you want me to talk about that sometime, I can. But I don't want to compare any different levels of autism because it's not fair to either group. And they are totally different. They are very different. And there's a group that has much higher support needs. That's a different situation altogether than where I'm at. I am so grateful to have the functionality that I do, and I'm very grateful to be articulate and intelligent. There is a price, though. So the downside is the term high functioning really kind of adds another level to the invisibleness of this high price you're paying. You're basically writing checks that your body can't cash. You're running on high levels of anxiety, but it's your normal, so you keep pushing it away, and you've learned how to kind of suppress it so you don't realize. So all that cortisol those stress hormones in your body. And then if you're anything like me, if you're addicted to sugar or caffeine, or if you smoke nicotine, so you're anxious all the time, and then you start self-medicating in some way, you start crashing. So you're going to have probably processed foods. If you're not health conscious, if you're like me and you just grab what's around, you're going to start craving sugar because your brain is so low on dopamine. Once you go into that anxiety state and your cortisol levels spike, it does a number to your body. And I know that as a culture in the last couple decades, maybe like the last century, I don't know, ever since the industrialization and people in our culture, companies have us probably have more work per employee than they're able to do because they want to make money. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. They're not having a business for goodwill towards men. They are doing it to make profit. So they cut corners where they can, and inadvertently they end up putting more on the employees. So I can only speak from my experience. I know that we're all different. And I hope this helps other women. If you relate to this, if you're kind of like me, if your ADHD is like me and it has you, I remember when I was in my 20s, I was working in this office. I was like constantly going to the coffee machine. I mean, it's vending machine coffee. I don't know if they still have those things. It wasn't great, but I was like, I'm so tired all the time. I'm so tired all the time. Why am I so tired all the time? It's because I was like running on anxiety and adrenaline because the anxiety of not being able to perform my job because I couldn't figure out why I couldn't focus like everyone else. So anxiety goes up. My stubbornness, there's a solution to every problem, and sheer willpower and determination, dogged determination that I was going to make myself do it, even if it killed me, But I didn't realize that those desperate actions are slowly killing you, and you don't realize the toll it's taking on your body. So that level of anxiety that's internalized, that you have suppressed, it's still doing some damage to you. Now, this isn't something to be afraid of. This is just like a fact of life. We just happen to have higher levels of these things because things that are easier for other people may be more challenging for us. And if you are later diagnosed, or you're not even diagnosed yet and you suspect that you have ADHD, this may have been happening to you. You might have had some times in your life where you crashed and had to take time off of work and you didn't understand what was happening and you were losing your mind and you thought maybe you were having a nervous breakdown. Maybe you are diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, major depression, before they think about ADHD. Now, they might be much more able to see ADHD these days than when I was diagnosed, which was the Y2K era. I think that especially if you're high masking as a woman, you look and sound just like everyone else. And if you're highly articulate, you can come across easily as extremely capable, which you are in a lot of ways, sometimes more than other people around you. The thing about the ADHD brain that's freaking amazing is the pattern recognition. And sometimes like you can finish people's sentences in your head. There's the impatience of waiting for people to finish and they have to think things through, and you might just instantly get things because you're intuitive and your brain works different. There's a lot of frustrations that you might be internalizing because workplaces are designed for a different brain. And if you're new to learning about ADHD, you have a different brain. Your brain's slightly different. That's okay. It can end up being a disability for some people. The line is from when it is something that is a challenge to when it becomes a disability is those times in your life, and it may change at different times and different seasons of your life. If you have a time in your life that it's the symptoms are, and the challenges, the executive functioning of your brain being able to just juggle all of the balls in the air that you have to, like work, kids, and then you don't realize how hard that you're working to manage it all. And then all it takes is one little thing, extra stress in your life, and it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. And now all of a sudden you don't know why you can't think straight. Your symptoms get worse, and all of a sudden you feel like you're losing your mind. That's what it took for me to find out I have it. I had to go through a crisis that got my symptoms so bad, and in times of, I think that's my feeling of why, sorry, I just showered last night. That's my feeling as to why so many women ended up getting diagnosed around COVID. When I go pick up my meds, I had a pharmacist tell me it's way overdiagnosed. I said, why do you think that? And she says, because all the prescriptions has doubled. Well, if it took a crisis for me to even know, I literally had to have like a severe enough crisis where my life was going down the drain, and it was like a perfect storm. Very, very high stress. So I think it would have to take either something traumatic. Well, for me, I don't know. I can't speak for other people. I was going through a separation that was equal to like a divorce at the time. He was emotionally abusive and gaslighting. I don't need to get into all of that stuff. I had bought a house with this person. I had to move out because I was being stalked by a neighbor, and I didn't know where he was, and he moved this other woman into my house as soon as it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. So all of that, plus I was working at a job, and he just said that because I gave cash and I didn't write checks, I didn't have any money, evidence to show that I put money into the house, even though I paid half of everything. So I lost everything. I lost my home. I lost my life, or what I thought it was going to be. And then it got to the point, it got dragged out for a period of time because I was dealing with lawyers and there was nothing. Meanwhile, I'm like in my early 20s, mid 20s. And I was like a kid, and I was sensitive to begin with. And I grew up with people telling me, you're too sensitive, you're too emotional. And, now looking back as a much older adult woman, I have a very different lens. Now I completely understand why I was that way. I didn't at the time. I thought something was wrong with me. So it took that, and then that high emotional state, and not having the emotional maturity at that age to know how to handle that. It took such a toll on me that eventually I just kind of lost it. And after about a year, because I started working at this particular office job, let me know if this is oversharing. I'm not sharing anything too personal because so many people might go through situations like this. It wasn't anything that I did. It's just this was a dishonest person. And it was my first serious relationship, in my life. So I was very naive. Very naive. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea that people were, I had no idea. I had a very rose-colored glasses. I thought because I was honorable and honest that other people were. This is can be sometimes a neurodivergent thing as well. I'm getting way off topic. Anyway, let me know if you want me to talk about that time when I got diagnosed, if you want to hear more about that. But I ended up kind of having what, I don't know how else to call it, but I thought of it as kind of like a nervous breakdown. I thought I was losing my mind. Like, I thought I was normal before then, and then this happened. It was so scary. The levels of anxiety over like about a year had gradually grown higher and higher every day, to the point that I couldn't understand why I couldn't be to work on time. I was young. This was my first office job. Before that, I was working retail. I already had a issue with time management and being to work on time. The anxiety that I've had about this issue my entire life is just bar none. It's just so to the roof high because I don't accept it, but yet I can't stop it, and I don't know why still. And of course the world doesn't care because they don't have to care. They want to run their businesses, and that's your problem. And it is our responsibility. Even if we have a disability in that aspect, we have to either make accommodations for ourselves or, and this is the hard thing, if you can't change it, like I can't make myself not time blind while I'm getting ready. I absolutely can't. I can't stop it. It still happens no matter what I do. You might have to choose a job or a type of work where being exactly ready on time and clocking in and being watched by your manager and being pulled into an office if you know what I mean? Like they're watching you, and because you have been failing, so you do really good in the beginning of a job, maybe you don't last more than a year or two in each job, and you go job to job. It's funny, the one job that I've managed to stay at the longest is being a cashier. And I think because it gives you some flexibility. You know, I can change my schedule as I need to. I can cut back my hours. I can be honest with my boss, and he's very accommodating, and I'm so thankful and grateful for that as I've been working through this. I have been considering taking another leave of absence because I've been in bed at least half the time that I'm home, and I only work 1 day a week, and my relationship is strained, understandably. And I don't think he can deal with it anymore, and it's not his fault. I mean, he's carrying the weight of this relationship, and the shame and the guilt that I have is enormous. Some of you who've been following me for a while might know that I started to create a business for myself. I was starting to work on that. I was really excited. And then I started getting sick again. And over the last year or two, I've been starting to sort out when I get like incapacitated, like that, exhausted, like it's like flu level exhaustion. This isn't, I can see how it would seem. Anybody who doesn't understand this, and I still am learning, like how your body can get that sick. You feel crazy. You have so much guilt because you were able to just kick yourself into gear before. You seemed normal before. You thought you were normal before. What the heck is this about? So bringing it, we're 23 minutes in. I always try to keep this short. So bringing it back to nutrients, I'm definitely going to start talking about this because I am shocked at how much fat, protein, and calories I was absolutely not getting in my diet at all. And I was actually just talking with Gemini, and he's become, I will refer to him as a he because that's how he is presented. It's a male voice. I talk to him like he's a person, but I know he's not. I don't have an attachment to him. He is not fulfilling any like void in my life. If you are lonely and you start using something like AI to help you as an accommodation, there are definitely some questions as whether or not it would be safe for you. There are some concerns for some people. And I've actually been, my therapist too, when I share with her all the ways, like each new thing that he's helping me with, she's like, oh my God, what? Like when I was in the store the other day, I'm like, okay, I need to just double check with you. He just basically does the work that I would do for myself. I also want to caution anyone as far as the use that I have for him, excuse me. When I double check supplements and I double check things about diet and nutrition, I have a safety net because I was interested in learning those things way before, 2 decades before ever going into nursing school. I guess it is one of my special interests, or has been in the past. My special interests tend to rotate. So, they won't be consistent, but I tend to, at different periods, go back to them. And I love to learn. I'm learning that I have a need. My brain just really craves knowledge and learning and figuring things out. And if I don't feed it, it's a problem. So I have to do that too. I'm getting sidetracked. What was I going to say? Yeah, I'm just really, really shocked. If you haven't gone through menopause yet, here's is it the 411? Here's the information. This is not to scare you, okay? Women have been going through the change of life for centuries throughout all of mankind. When you go into menopause or perimenopause, you're not going to die. I don't want to scare you. There are, however, additional challenges if you are a woman who also has either ADHD, if it's severe enough. Like, some people might have ADHD and it's a little bit of a challenge, but then they get themselves in the right job and they make a couple of adjustments, maybe change their diet, and they're able to, that's enough. And then there's either other times in your life, or maybe other people, like how I am now, who have their abilities to be able to function and do your day-to-day taking care of yourself, cleaning your house. I mean, hello, I've been so sick. I won't even have the energy to get up and shower. And it's not from depression this time. I do have both, but I can tell. I can tell. And I think you can tell by how I'm talking to you. When I have depression, I just think completely differently. I just think things are hopeless. And I have been using my happy light to kind of mitigate any of that during the winter. So I've been doing all of my tools for managing it. It's something that I was diagnosed with maybe before 2008, but I didn't start taking medication and going to counseling for it until after 2008, somewhere between 2008 and 2010, when it got scary. But it's something that I've had and managed. You know, that was the time that I was able to be honest with myself and realize that I've probably had it throughout my life. So I definitely want to talk more about the diet. If you're menopausal, I'm like talking in circles. I'm so sorry. I'm starting to get a little bit more functional. My energy is slowly coming back. This particular last week that I worked, I was fortunate because it's crazy, right? There was like a snowstorm or something, and I only had 5 customers the entire day. I was still burned out the next day. I don't understand that. So I tried to, now that I'm starting to be aware, it has to do with the nervous system. So the accumulation of the anxiety, the performance of masking that has become second nature, just because you can do it, and you probably are somebody, if it's invisible and you went without diagnosis until later in life, you're probably a lot like me, where you sound and look normal. And so there never was any kind of sign that there was something else going on. That's why it took some serious stuff going on in my life for it to become a crisis, for me to become like non-functional, to seek help. And I thought like I had bipolar or something. I didn't know what was happening. And it turned out it was ADHD. And just me changing types of jobs made all the difference. But I still had, and I didn't realize it because it was my normal, I had such high levels of anxiety. Now, if you have a very fast mind, if you have ADHD, and like I am considered my type, there's 3 types. I'm primarily inattentive, but when I'm engaged in something that I'm interested in, I get excited. And it's like Neo in the Matrix. I just want to hook that cable up and just suck all the information up as fast as I can. And from what I understand, when you get into an intense hyperfocus where now if you add ADHD to the mix where you get excited and you just like more, you burn through calories crazy fast. Who knew? Who knew? 20% of your calories is used by your brain. And then when you go through, let's say, and I could just like learn for hours about something and not move. And that was exciting to me. You know, if it's something that I'm interested in learning about, like anatomy, diet, nutrition, I'm starting to learn more about diet now. I mean, I knew basics, but I had no idea. Once I put in the different factors that I want to make sure I get enough nutrients for, the fact I'm a woman, I even made sure I added in what my blood pressure is, my height, my weight. I did the whole, my old nursing instructors would have been very proud. I kind of think that way anyway, but the whole nursing process is common sense, basically. It's the same as when you go in, if anyone who's in clinicals know what I'm talking about, or anyone in the nursing field knows what I'm talking about. You go in, you assess the situation, you identify the problem. Now, you're not diagnosing any illnesses, but the nursing diagnosis is you're assessing what that person is suffering with. So I'm like a hunt and find and solve. And if I can't find a solution, that's when I kind of go downhill. And I think that that's how it's been the last 10 years. And now I'm finally understanding. I had no idea how few calories I was having. You know how for the longest time we were going low fat? I grew up in the 80s, and they were scared of fat. Another thing, too, that I didn't know, and I want to research this more and talk to you guys about this. I kind of knew that sugar plays a role, and sugar can clog your arteries, too, over time. Having a really high sugar, a lot of processed foods, the way we eat, sugary cereals, ramen noodles, mac and cheese. I mean, those things aren't going to kill you if you have them once in a while, but if that's all you're eating, sugary drinks, chips, cookies, sweets, and then maybe for dinner you might have like meat and potatoes. You know, when's the last time you had broccoli? In our convenience world, do we eat the way that our grandmothers did? No, they would cook from scratch. They would go, they followed the like food pyramid. Now the food pyramid has been changed, and I want to I still want to try to increase my produce, and I'm getting some produce every day now. But I had no idea how few calories I was eating. And so last night what ended up happening was the first day that I had enough energy to do any cleaning in I don't even know how long. And I was so excited. I put on some tunes, and I was kind of feeling still burned out, but I was kind of like playing it by ear, and I pushed myself a little bit. I did some dishes. I have this energy because I'm sitting, by the way. If I start walking around, I'm going to get out of breath. And I'm out of shape too. Of course, like I said, I'm going to look like everyone else. It's going to look like it's no big deal. But burnout is real. It's like you've been running way more electricity on your power lines in your house, all of the wiring, than the average household. Maybe 4 times as much. Think of it that way. A fuse is going to go, right? So one of the things that I've been learning is that when you're in burnout and you have that chronic exhaustion, it's like your brain knows you've overextended yourself. You've been burning your candle at both ends. You've used up your reserves. So if you continue with that level of stress and anxiety and pushing yourself, that's like when the wheels start to like go flying off the car. You've been just driving a car super fast and you don't even realize it because your needs are different if you're neurodivergent. You do things more intensely. If they tell you to give 100% at work, you'll give more because you are already like trying a lot harder. to do things that might be easier for other people. And you might not understand why. So last night I got sidetracked in the afternoon. I started, after I took my shower, women, if you have a hot shower, that might trigger a hot flash. So I was like resting for a little bit. I had a bit of smoothie, which was really good. I can also teach you, because I've been learning this. I'm not a nutritionist, so all of that stuff, it's important to mention. Because diabetic, like something that I can do, you might not be able to do. So use your common sense. And that's why you're supposed to check with your doctor. I don't want anyone getting hurt, having like sugar crash or sugar coma because of what's right for me. So estrogen is nuts. Your body uses estrogen to manage your sugar levels and your insulin. What? So I couldn't understand this. I'm like, how come men, now we both, men and women, have testosterone and estrogen. We just have them in different ratios, different amounts. So we'll have much less testosterone and a lot of estrogen, and vice versa. If you need estrogen to make your neurochemicals, like your dopamine, and you have ADHD, and you're already deficient in dopamine, and you start going into menopause, suddenly your medicine's not going to feel like it's working as well. I wish somebody told me. Like I said in the beginning, I don't want to scare you, but your symptoms might get incredibly worse. It won't happen overnight because you have that whole perimenopause period, which, depending on the system, your body and your health that you inherited from your family and your genetics, it's different for every woman. Some women go into menopause early. Some women go into menopause later. Some are in perimenopause a longer period of time. It's completely different for everyone. I think I had been in perimenopause for several years, maybe 5, and not know it. Maybe longer. It was pretty gradual for me. Like when I first started working in the store I'm at, was actually 10 years ago, and I was able-bodied. I could actually go through and do truck. I would get, out of breath and everything. And I had depression because I had just gone through some stuff that was like traumatic for me and in my life, but I could do it. And my joints were starting to get stiff, and I figured that was aging, and I would just pop in a leave. A couple of years later, I'm like, geez, my joints are getting really stiff. Turns out you need estrogen to lubricate your joints. I started taking joint supplements that helped. Now it's to the point, if I get on the floor and I kneel down to put something away, I can't necessarily stand back up. I have to grab something and pull myself up. My joints are stiff. I can start walking and exercising, and it doesn't change that. It turns out that you need estrogen for tons of things. You need them to keep the calcium in your bones. You need them to make collagen, to keep your tendons and then to have your joints lubricated with the synovial fluid. And your body is actually starting to age pretty rapidly. And like I said, I'm not trying to scare you. It's just the facts. And so knowing ahead of time, you can then prepare for it so this doesn't happen to you. And they know now that hormone replacement therapy is safe. And I can't believe that, anyway, I won't get into it, a whole generation of us women, they were going on false information by a study that was not done well. And it turns out that the women, they improperly did this study, and it let doctors and women for a whole generation think that hormone replacement will give you an increased risk of breast cancer, and it turns out it's not true at all. And it turns out hormone replacement therapy is incredibly important. I'm not a doctor, but talk to your OBGYN or your primary care. If you don't go to one, I would suggest you go to whatever doctors you can to kind of get all your bases. And it's a pain. If you have ADHD, you're already kind of like hanging on, like, I gotta pay my bills. I'm on fumes at the end of my night. I gotta feed the kids, and then you crash. And so you're on this, like, merry-go-round or Ferris wheel, and it just doesn't stop. Depending on how it is for you, you may have to make some changes. The beginning part of learning about it, if you're a later diagnosed woman, is the worst, because you've had this vision in your head and you're determined to make that happen, of how you think you should be, because you are as capable and intelligent, if not more in some cases, than the people around you. And yet you struggle with these certain things, and that's not okay. So you keep trying harder, and it doesn't work. Medication helps some. Not all people who take the ADHD medication, the stimulant medication, are helped by it, which I did not know about. But a lot of people are. And then there is the downside of, once you're on it for a little while, sometimes it doesn't work as well. There's that. So it's not a magic pill. It does feel like that in the beginning, though, because suddenly time isn't zipping by the same way. You're not spacing out, and like, you can function at work. It's such a relief. I mean, it may make you cry. If you've been struggling for years and years and years, and you panic because it's still happening and you can't stop it, it's such a relief. But take the time you need. It may take months, if not years, to kind of filter through some of this if you're newer to being diagnosed, and to decide, because there's a mixed bag of feeling. You'll be, on the one hand, you're relieved to finally have an answer and know you're not insane, but there's a real grieving process. And I know that even when it comes to death and mourning, the 5 stages of grief and all of that, it's different for everyone, because everybody deals with loss differently. But this is a loss, because the dreams you were working towards, once you start realize what's happening with you, and that depending on how severe it is and how much it's impairing your ability to function at any given time, it may end up actually being a disability. That in itself, the despair. How do you not mourn the idea of what you had dreamed of doing and being since you were a kid might feel like hopeless? It's not. You might have to, let's say that you're so high functioning, right, that you've been pushing yourself to the limit, and you've been somebody who's like a CEO type, and then you crash and burn. Oh my God. That really hurts your sense of self, because you have been working day to day at such a high intense level, and you've been responsible for a lot of people, and you would be juggling other things in your life, and you want to be just like everyone else, and now all of a sudden this thing comes in and wrecks everything. That's kind of feels like how it is for me. It's like a train that's like been running out of fuel, and it's just been going so fast that, and you have no idea, you've just been riding this train of your life, not realizing it's different than other trains, and it's just going through fuel really fast. And then you can't stop it. And then, so your life, depending on your situation, your life might seem to inexplicably fall apart. And in reality, what might be happening, you may have been going on fumes for a lot longer than you realize. Maybe a number of years, maybe decades. And then eventually you can only do so much, and then you crash. It may feel like an illness. You may feel like mental health. We tend to be diagnosed with other things before it becomes evident that this is in there. And there's still a lot of myths. Like, oh, everybody has it. No. Our brain is actually wired differently. It's not true. I think it's especially hard to come to terms with when you look and sound like everyone else, because how do you accept that? How do you accept that? There's never been anything in your life to tell you, at least my generation, that you might be different. No, we've heard the opposite, right? You could do it if you tried hard enough. Well, you're not trying. What's the matter? So, different minds, different abilities. Yes, hyperfocus can be a superpower, but just remember to manage that carefully. Just know there's a price that you pay. Last night, after hyperfocusing on a video game and losing track for 7 hours, I didn't eat or drink for 7 hours. Now, because I've changed my diet and I'm trying to eat healthy, beep, 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 beep. That's the washing machine. My electrolytes got so, and because I was so hyper focusing on this game, because it was like challenging, I was like, ugh. It was like the dopamine loop, right? You're trying to get the dopamine from this game. That's why they get addictive. We're particularly vulnerable to them. But my heart started to feel funny. I'm like, oh, I went too long without eating. And I don't know if I've been having less sodium than I was before. Oh, this is something to mention. It turned out when I checked my pulse, my heart started skipping beats. And that was scary. And every time it skipped a beat, I would feel like that exact instant, like this fear feeling. And it's really the adrenaline. I didn't know if I could actually feel it when it was happening. So I'm like, hey, Gemini, I forgot to eat, how many calories do I have so far? Because he's tracking my calories. My instructions, because I had no idea how few nutrients I was having. I wasn't having any fats, really, just because, like, what fat are you getting in oatmeal? Maybe if I put creamer. Cereal, I don't know. I'm using almond milk. There's not a lot of fat in there. And I thought lower fat's better for you. I'll have cleaner arteries. But you may need a different type of fuel than you realize. If you have a very intense brain and you are very competitive, let's say you're in sales in your job and you're just all out, you may be going through fuel in your body way faster. You may be digesting at a faster speed. Some of us digest fast. I accidentally found that out because of a year that I had a stomach infection. I'm sorry, this is TMI, but they had me do this crazy test where they had me eat these like radioactive eggs, and then they would take a picture of my stomach and then wait like an hour and then take another picture, and just to see, because of my stomach issues, they were making sure that, because some people's digestion go too slow and then they get issues from that. And it wasn't that at all. It was like way faster than normal. So everything in your body is connected. So if you burn through fuel faster and you don't realize it, it's shocking to me. I just made that realization this morning, just before pulling this up. I'm like, I got to tell them about this, especially the menopausal women. Are you forgetting to eat? From now on, if I sit and I'm realizing if I sit and start playing video games, I think it's like 20 minutes, and next thing you know, it's like 7 hours went by. I have no clue. Time blindness plus whatever hack that they use to get you addicted to it, like, time flies. And I'm going to have to make sure that if I do that, either I hate timers. I hate alarms. They give me so much anxiety. I'm going to have to put some kind of timer. I probably won't. I'm going to have to bring some like cashews, some kind of fat source. Another thing that I guess they're learning now is it's the sugar spikes. So if you get hypoglycemic after you eat, if you feel like you get a headache after you eat something that has a lot of carbs or sweets, and then like within a half an hour to an hour, and then you suddenly feel so exhausted you're going to fall asleep, you might have, you might be And then estrogen's role in regulating your insulin. I mean, your body's, I guess I forget what it is about it. If it helps to make the insulin go around your body, or it has some role in your body being sensitive to the insulin. So now my body's not sensitive to the insulin so much. I don't know if it's as much to call it pre-diabetic, but when I go to my primary care at the end of next month, and I haven't been to a doctor in many years, and that's also not uncommon for people who are neurodivergent. That's a whole nother conversation. I might ask her to do a workup on my sugar tolerance. So it turns out that coronary artery disease, you have to have inflammation on the veins, the arteries, for the plaque from the fat in your diet to have something to stick to. And I guess newer studies are showing that it's the carbs. Now, I am not a keto girl. I don't think you should go keto. This is just my opinion. I'm not an expert. Go talk to your doctor, but I don't think people should go keto. It's not good for you. If you want, I can talk about the Krebs cycle sometime. It's kind of boring. It's like science class. But the engines that are running in your cell, they run on glucose. You don't put diesel fuel that goes in a truck in a car and vice versa. So why are you trying to run your body on only protein? It's not good for you. You just have to switch the type. And make sure that if you're switching to whole wheat bread and whole wheat pasta from what you're having, you can cut back. If all you're eating is pasta, yeah, cut back. But, make sure you want to make sure at every meal that you're getting, it doesn't have to be complicated. I'm going to try to distill everything down that I'm learning. And I want to share it with you guys in case other women out there are feeling like I do. So when your estrogen drops, you have a whole cascade of things happening because your body needs the estrogen to make the dopamine and the serotonin and all of that stuff. So you might be taking antidepressants if you are diagnosed with a depression or a mood disorder of some sort, and you might find that they're not working as well. Well, that's because your body's not making as much of those neurochemicals now. So I started saying this earlier. I'm sorry this is so long. I couldn't figure out why. Why do men not have to worry about bone health? Why do men don't have to worry about their dopamine and serotonin? Like, they have less estrogen than we do. How is that? Like, I know they weigh more, and I know when you physically have more muscle and you weigh more and you're using your muscles more, you do strengthen your bones. Your bones will get larger as a result too. It's amazing. It's freaking phenomenal learning about bones, or just, I know I'm going to geek out talking about osseous tissue, but it's freaking amazing. That blew my mind in school. Wait till I show you a picture. You're going to be shocked. It's nuts. It's nuts. Anyway. But I'm going to do research on this too. I guess there is something in your brain. There is a process that can, if you don't have enough estrogen, and men need it as well, because you need to have strong bones and you need to make those neurochemicals and you need your joints to work. So it's not just about wrinkles. Think about it. It's not just about wrinkles. It's an inside job. So if your body as a woman can no longer make as well or as much of that precious collagen, to now you're starting to get wrinkles and sagging and everything, what is that doing to the inside of your body? So for me, for my physical health, for my joints, for my mood disorder, for my depression, my generalized anxiety disorder, so I've got the trifecta, right? And I might end up having access to, in the future, I have to follow up. They were supposed to call me. I haven't gotten a call from them yet. But I started talking to my new prescriber about neuropsychological testing. I don't know much about that. And potentially an autism or ADHD assessment, and I don't know how to prepare for that. A lot of places have wait lists, and some people wait a couple years, some people wait 6 months. I also have to find out if it's covered from my insurance. It might not be. And if you're affected, if you're the one of 70% of supposedly high-functioning autistic or ADHD people that don't work or are underemployed because you can't, yeah, I feel really high-functioning now. It just makes me feel like a crazy person. How are you going to afford $4,000 to $6,000 for an assessment? They don't take Mass Health. If you are so affected and your life is so impaired by this thing to need an assessment, chances are your ability to work is going to be impaired. If your ability to work is going to be impaired, you're not going to necessarily have good insurance. You're going to have Mass Health. What other insurance would a person have if it's that impairing in your life and it's affecting your ability to work, that you actually, that's the person that needs the assessment, and they don't take my insurance, which, talk about systemic barriers to care. Anyway, I've gotten on the long talk. I am still all over the place. My thoughts are kind of like going in circles, and I apologize, because I am pretty symptomatic too during the burnout. But yeah, I'm increasing my fat. I'm changing my carb. If you have an ADHD brain that goes through glucose very, very quickly, you want to make sure that during your meal you have healthy fats. You want to make sure that you have, and that could be olive oil, that could be avocado oil. If you end up cutting your carbs and eating in a way that you don't have the sugar highs and sugar crashes, your arteries will, if you already have coronary artery disease, do not listen to anything I'm saying here at all, because this will not apply to you. If you've always had low blood pressure, if you don't have a family history of coronary artery disease, or if you're young and healthy, if you learn how to eat in a way that's not going to have the sugar spike and sugar crash, you won't have, so anytime that you have the sugar high, and your body sends out insulin, it actually sends out a warning in your body as well, that you just don't know it, but it's like an inflammatory response. And that's what the headache is. It actually does something, and it blocks your brain from getting the glucose from the inflammatory response. So ironically, you just had all the sugar, but now because there's an inflammatory response from cortisol and other things going through your body besides just insulin, which you had no idea about, it causes an inflammatory response in your brain that actually shuts the channels. So now you can't even get the sugar. So if you do get those post-meal headaches, if you don't have, if you're not somebody who has migraines and you notice that it's strictly around when you eat, it's definitely worth mentioning to your primary care, or give them a call and ask them, is the blood test. They have you drink something really sweet. I don't know if they've changed it. They have you drink, I don't know if you fast before it. I remember when I did phlebotomy in my internship, I worked part of the time. This particular hospital had 2 labs. It had the laboratory, where you get your blood drawn in the hospital, but it also had one in the women's health building. And so, which was very cool. A lot of women were going there for pregnancy, checking for gestational diabetes, because your hormones, and it probably has to do with estrogen, affects your insulin sensitivity and all this stuff. Pregnancy is a whole different thing. Don't change your diet at all. Don't mess around. You don't want to mess around with depriving yourself of things, or taking things that are healthy for B, but maybe bad for you. But yeah, I was really surprised to find out that it's that inflammatory response that happens that actually he was saying that they now think of the high sugar in your blood when you have it. And this is just from white bread, white flour, and regular pasta. If you switch to whole wheat pasta, maybe not so much, and maybe like make your serving a little bit smaller. You can still have it. Make it a little smaller, have the protein first, have something with fat on it first, and that kind of buffers your stomach. If you have the thing with the sugar first on an empty stomach, it gets absorbed instantly into your bloodstream because your lining of your stomach is meant to absorb nutrients, and those processed sugars, instant. You might as well inject them into your veins. So I've been learning about different ways that you can eat some of the things that you love, but moderate it so that you don't have those sugar crashes. So I'm trying not to be strict. I don't want to stop eating the things I enjoy. I'm still kind of overwhelmed. I still have a lot of checking to do. But I'm starting with Gemini because Gemini is a great starting point. And I'm not making any changes that I don't already know are safe. So I might have a support system built into my specific situation because I have some medical schooling, and it's just basic stuff, but enough. And I have that kind of thinking. And I like to geek out over this stuff, and I have that troubleshooting mind. And right now I'm double checking everything too. That I can use Gemini. I'm somebody who can use Gemini for the nutrition aspect. Don't do keto. Please don't do keto. If your doctor says it's okay, then it's okay. Like, there are certain reasons that you can. It's really hard. There's a way that you can change it. If you want to do keto, you do you. If you try it and it doesn't work for you and it backfires, and then you're back to eating pies and ice cream and shit like that, you're addicted to sugar like I have been, I'm really shocked that I don't crave it now. What? I've been a sugar addict for decades, and I actually went through trying to wean myself off of sugar multiple times, and just changing how I eat and the quality of the food that I eat. And it's not just only adding all these fruits and vegetables. It's like way more fat and protein than I'm used to. Do you want to hear I have to go. It's like an hour. I don't think anyone will even watch this, but if you're still here, this is an example of a power bowl breakfast for me. I had 2 eggs, and I have an egg cooker for the microwave. This is going to be ADHD friendly. It's not going to be fancy. It's not going to be gourmet. It's going to be real life. But instead of putting water on the bottom of those egg things, you know how you do that so that they don't stick when you cook them? Put a little olive oil. Did the 2 eggs. Cooked them. Put them on a plate. I drizzled some olive oil instead of butter. And if you don't like that, if you want the healthy fat but you don't like the taste of olive oil, you can buy avocado oil. So those are the 2 safe oils for the Mind diet. What I'm doing is the Mind diet, but it's a slightly altered because mine has a little bit higher fat and protein. ADHD, you want to have protein, especially in the morning, because your body needs the protein to make. So it sounds like I'm doing keto because I'm jacking up my protein and fat, but I'm still having carbs. I'm still having lots of carbs. I just have different kinds of carbs, and I'm eating them in such a way that I don't have the sugar crash. And what's interesting, I'm sorry, this is so long, guys. I have no idea how I'm going to get functional to the point that I can actually start to script these videos and not be like rambling and talking in circles for an hour. But when you have high sugar in your blood, the instant sugar. Now, if I were to go and make a smoothie right now, I started telling you my breakfast. So my breakfast was 2 eggs with olive oil, a little low sodium Lawry's, just because that's what we have and I like how it tastes, not because I'm going low sodium. If you have pots POTS is POTS, and it's like you get lightheaded and feel like you're going to pass out. If you have autism and you have POTS, it's like posterior orthostatic. I forget what it stands for, but it has to do with your blood pressure is not being regulated by your body properly. So when you go to stand up, your body just goes straight to your feet and you start to black out. Now, doctors will actually increase your sodium content as medicine. This is exactly why, a perfect example of why you shouldn't change your diet without talking. You guys are going to hate me for saying that. I'm so sorry. It's just true. You know, I had a couple of times the last 2 weeks where my electrolytes were all messed up. And I think that I might have that because I was always feeling like I was going to pass out. And I was always like going to fall over when I stood up too fast. And I'd have to grab a chair or allow myself to fall back into the chair I was because I would lose vision. My whole body would feel weird and I would get so dizzy. Exercise helps with that too. But yeah, has something to do with your body and how your blood vessels don't really constrict properly. And so it messes with your blood pressure. So if somebody who has that tries to go low sodium, like a MIND diet is basically Mediterranean and DASH like combined. You don't want to do that. So I had 2 eggs with salt, Lawry's, ketchup. And then I took a half a whole wheat pita and put some pasta sauce on it with hamburger in there. And I had toasted the half pita, made it like a pizza and put on that heavy sauce that my fiance loves to make. And it's awesome. It has hamburger. Like these are things that you might think that you should have less of. But for some reason, I need more of them because my brain just goes through fuel so fast and I could get lightheaded. Yeah, it's crazy how much diet affects you. And we'll talk more about menopause soon, guys. I love you. It's been an hour. I hope you're doing well. I hope this is watchable. I hope you don't hate me. See you soon. Bye.